And we're live. Hello. Hola, hola, hola. Hola.
Hey,
Welcome.
sis.
Welcome to Coffee and Cream, Queens of Conversation. I am Alberta and I'm Coffee.
I'm Tiffany. I'm Cream.
And together we are Queens of Conversations. Today we are doing a mental health check-in. I called my good friend, good old psychotherapist, Miss Leeshe Grimes. I said, honey, I need about 5 sessions pro bono. You got me? Well, there's a lot going on in this world right now. I know some of you may have read about Tamar Braxton and her suicide attempt. And so I felt it was important that it was time for us to do some kind of mental health check-in on our sisters, because I have truly been at the edge about to jumping off. I ain't gonna say jumping off a bridge, but this close to the edge. So today we are asking, are you good, sis? Are you good, bro? How are you doing? Leesha's gonna help us with some signs and symptoms of depression. Some things to look out for when your loved ones may be saying things about regarding suicidal ideations. And myself, Kia, Luster, and Aberina, we're just regular people going through the norms of life that sometimes can be very overwhelming for us. So thank you for joining us. And let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I should say,
hey, how is everyone? Hey,
Doing good. Doing good.
So, Leeshe,
Yes.
my psychotherapist. I need help. I don't even know. My anxiety levels are so high. I feel just anxious. Like today was one of those days. Like if somebody would have tried me, somebody would have got it in 2.5 seconds, whereas normally it would have took maybe 30 seconds. Today they would have tried it. It would have took 2.5, and they would have caught my rap. And it's this feeling that I can't explain. I just don't know. I just don't know what it is.
Well, here's the thing. Well, I want to start with no one's immune to feeling suicidal. I don't care, as we unfortunately seen with recent things in the news with Tamar. It does not matter your level of success. It does not matter the amount of money you make. I don't care how many likes you get on IG, Twitter, Facebook. I don't care how many followers you have. None of that matters when it comes to being suicidal and having those ideations. Myself, as a therapist, I am not immune to being suicidal or having suicidal ideations. And I'm a very transparent person. And I will tell you that I am a suicide survivor. I attempted back in 2005 in Afghanistan. So it was just the weight of the world of so much going on. So I don't come to you as a person of just professionalism, but I've been on that other side of the couch. I truly, truly, wholeheartedly understand what it's like to feel like I'm uneasy. I don't know what to do. You're trying so many different things. And it's like, what do you do? What do I do about it? So that feeling you're discussing is that uneasy feeling. But I want you to give yourself some credit. You're able to recognize that, man, I got this feeling that I can't describe, but you're capable of saying I have this feeling. You were able to recognize instead of going off in 30 seconds, you're going off in 2.5 seconds. So what does that say? Does that mean like, oh, we shouldn't get angry? Anger is actually a good emotion. Most people think that it's not, but it's actually a good emotion. It's what you do with your anger that will make it either negative or positive. So when you're in that situation of feeling uneasy, what do? Do you just acknowledge it and keep it moving? Do you find an activity to do? Like, what do you do, Berta?
TikTok and you don't stop, and TikTok you don't stop. If y'all can see, y'all see my TikTok are back in full swing. They help me. Honestly, they help me mentally. Like I woke up this morning, I'm just like, you know what? There's some stuff I know I need to do, and as part of it's procrastination too, and anxiety is building up. So the come do some TikTok. So I've been doing my TikTok. I went right back to my TikTok. Those honestly truly help me.
So, and
I love they do. I see my TikTok are back at full swing.
Yeah. That's the thing. Okay, you know what? I ain't feeling all good. I'm not feeling right. Let me go and get my TikTok. What's happening is your TikTok is releasing those good hormones. It's called endorphins. And unfortunately, with us women, we go through a lot more hormonal changes than men go through. They still go through those hormonal changes, whether they want to admit it or not, but they go through them. I mean, I often say there is a such thing as men PMS. They just don't bleed like we bleed because it's true. Their hormones and things change. So for you, you're able to recognize TikTok makes me feel good. And that's amazing. But what do you do when you're not doing those TikToks? You can't do TikToks 24/7. How are you truly addressing, I'm not feeling right? What are you truly
doing? Eat. I eat. A snack. That's the honest truth.
And I won't tell you that there's something wrong with that, but that's emotional eating. So what you're doing when we do things by doing something that temporarily gives us those feel good hormones by eating, by doing TikTok. Some people feel like they need to have sex, like whatever it is to get those good hormones. All those things are temporary. What's happening?
I think that might be my cure. But in the day and age of COVID-19, it's just not good.
Well, here's the thing.
That might be the prescription I need, or part of the prescription.
So here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize it, but a healthy sexual relationship, whether that's with yourself or with someone else, is actually good for your mental health. A lot of people don't like to get into that, but it's true. But what's happening? You're releasing those feel good hormones. You're also burning calories too. So, you got to get a win-win.
Yeah, you're speaking to the sexologist herself. I know that, but I think I need a little bit more. But we're gonna get off me for a second, and let's check in with Miss Busybody over here, Miss Averina Stooth Cropper, my dear friend and coworker. She saved my life work. Y'all just, I could write a dissertation about how this child has saved me from the ledge when I was going through a very dark period in my life, and it was because her strength, right? When she walked into a room, her presence is known, and then it was like something trustworthy that I can lean on her as a sister, and she, knowing I was batty out of my mind, she accepted me and she understood, and she went through that dark time with me, and for that, I love you, Averina. But
oh, thank you, sis. I love you too, girl. Look, you helped me when I was going through my time. So,
I know you got a lot going on. So tell us what's going on with you, sis. How are you doing?
Where do I begin? It's crazy. I mean, I have been tested in ways that I have never thought. When you have a full plate, and on top of that full plate, they sprinkle on some social disturbance in the world. They sprinkle on people dying to hands of others who feel that it's their right to do so, or they are legally able to do so. When you sprinkle on those, you become, it's almost trapped, and you almost feel like you're in a cage and you just don't know how to get out. And it's very difficult to also maintain that level-headedness, because I have little people who are looking at me and looking for guidance and support. And so I had a moment maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to my husband, and he said something and it triggered, and I just packed up my stuff and I went to a hotel and stayed overnight. I contemplated on not telling him where I was, but I recognized that I'm still a mother, regardless of how I feel. And I had to leave and I had to reset. And I posted something on Facebook and I had an overwhelming response of my tribe and people that I didn't even know who were looking out sent messages saying, "You can do it. We're proud of you. Keep moving, keep striving." And that gave me the strength to say, Av, you're at a point of no return. You're on this path to whatever it may be. This is your call. You're, a doctoral student, but you have other people around you. So what I learned in that moment was that I wasn't by myself. And Berta called me and she said, "Hey sis, it looked like you going through some things." And I said, "Yo sis, I am, you know." And so it's so important to have people around you to kind of lift you up when you're in your most vulnerable state, to give you that strength. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I felt like I was by myself at that moment, and that is an uncomfortable and a terrifying feeling. So, the journey continues, but I've also been able to get some help because the other thing was I was trying to be super mom and I was sacrificing my health for to keep the train moving. And though my children's were okay, I wasn't. And if you don't have a lifeline for yourself, you can forget about it.
And so listening to you, what it makes me think about, especially what happens in our community with you being a doctoral student, is it's almost like you're working so hard to be accomplished. Not saying that you're not
Yes.
accomplished now, but you're working so hard to be accomplished. But here's what could possibly happen. You do all of this work to be so hard to be accomplished and finish your doctorate and be this great mom and be this great wife. And it's like, yes, I'm accomplished, but you don't feel no joy. What that means is you replace the feeling of joy and the feeling of happiness with being accomplished, which is not an emotion. And so now it's like, man, I made it to the end of the road. I'm a great mom. I'm a great wife. I'm a doctor. I'm this. And I still don't feel a change in myself. So what did I do all of this? It looks good to everybody else. Yes, everybody else is proud of you. Yes, you can say I had the strength to go on, but what did it cost you? And I used to be guilty of saying life is about balance, but that's false because you will never, ever be able to balance everything in life. It just won't happen. I don't care what it is you do, you won't balance it. But it's consistency and it's dedication that makes a difference. But where you apply that consistency and where you apply that dedication is what changes you. Here's the thing. Your body cannot function without your brain, without your mind.
Yes.
You can't speak the words that you're speaking to me right now without your brain sticking a signal. You can't shake your head how you're shaking right now without your brain sticking a signal. With so many small things, we don't give credit to our brain. So we're not taking care of our brain, and you feel like you got to that point where you were feeling all alone. What it is you're being put in this mental vegetative state. Normally, when your body is in a physical vegetative state, and normally it's just your brain is functioning, your brain is not functioning, but your body is trying to. And so now I'm in this corner, I'm in this cage, as you said. I don't know what to do with myself. I just got to hurry up and get away. It's important that we get in the habit of, before we get to that breaking point, of taking the time for ourselves. And I hate saying the word self-care because it's so cliche, but self-care is important. And it's not you being selfish, it's you giving yourself self-love. You cannot be that mom, that wife, that doctor for anybody if you're not that for yourself. So right now, what does that mean? Your mirror is dirty. We all love mirrors. We all like to look in the mirror. I know I like to look in the mirror. I like to look, we all like to look in the mirror here and there. But what does that mean? Right now, your mirror was dirty. It was clouded. So you try to wipe that one little clear space just to see something. But it does you no good. You can't see the whole picture if your entire mirror is cloudy and you just keep wiping off that small little space to get through. It does you no good. We got to get in the habit of cleaning our entire mirror so we can see the full picture. How do we do that? Implementing those small daily things that you have that time for yourself, where you don't have to be a mom, you don't have to be a wife, you don't have to be the doctoral student, you don't have to be the employee. You get to be a Vina. That's it. Nothing else.
Be a what? Be a what?
Averina. Did I say your name wrong?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's all love. Look, it takes you a while to say it a couple times, and then it'll start rolling.
But you know, Leeshe, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah.
I want to share because you hit everything, like everything that I experienced. And Everina, I felt like you trying to run a business. So right now I'm in my 40s and I'm living my dream, everything that I've always wanted. I'm doing it right now. But I found myself overwhelmed. I found myself not finding joy in the simple things. I found myself, my patience was extremely thin with my granddaughter. And I never wanted to be the person that I was like over the last few weeks. And I just so happened to talk to my grandmother, and I was just telling her what I was going through. And she was saying, And I said, well, I don't want to, take up this time of, our conversation with what's going on with me. Well, like, what's going on with you? And she said, you know what? So she started she started saying what she used to do. It was almost like I thought she was trying to tell me how to be better with my time management. But at the end of the conversation, she said that she did all those things, but she never had time for herself. Wow. And my heart hurt because I know my grandmother's hard work. But I also know that she was the woman in my life who I admired the most and wanted to be like. And so the woman that I am, this striving, this continuous feeling of striving is because is that me? I'm not sure if that's me. Because I saw her. But when she told me that she never had time for herself, that it almost like shook me. You know what I'm saying? Because what good is it, like you said, to do all of those things and to be all of these things if we don't have that joy and that happiness inside of us. So I thank you, Everina, for sharing, and thank you, Leeshe. I know you're going to give us even more tips on how to, maneuver through that. The woman who wants to do it all. I want every single thing I ever dreamed about. I want it now, and I don't know how to manage it.
Mm-hmm. So and you bring
it's
you can go ahead, Everina.
It's interesting, Tiffany, that you say that, because I had a conversation with a colleague who was struggling with infertility, and she just got her doctorate, and she told me that she didn't believe women or Black women could have it all. And I looked at her and I said, well, why can't we? I know that we put a lot on our plates, and there's a lot of responsibilities that we are consciously aware and subconsciously. However, we have strived, we have gotten to where we are, as you pointed out, Tiffany, on the backs of women that we've put in high esteem. And so I agree, when there is that notion that there needs to be balance. And I know for me, I struggle with that balance because I've never had balance. It was either all or nothing. And I've always lived my life at a point where if I don't do it now, it'll never get done. If I don't seize on this opportunity now, it will never come. And when you have children, you have to prioritize. And my sister-in-law has always said, Av, who's more important? Is it your family or your pursuits? And I always say my family is more important. But sometimes it's what you do speaks louder than what you say. And so finding that balance for me is the most difficult thing, because I don't want to not even just let myself down, but I have a lot of people who are watching that I want them to say, hey, you can do it too. And so I'm always in a constant conflict with the pursuit and enjoying and being understanding who I am as a person. And I think this situation, so being home with COVID, really kind of makes me have to wrestle with that issue and understand that you're only human. There's only so much that a person can do in 24 hours. Believe me, I've tried to maximize as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And this is why I say I don't think we ever can truly have balance. I can say out of 7 days a week, and if I say, you know what, you gotta have self-care. Do you think it's realistic that you're gonna have 3.5 days of self-care? Because that's balance. That balance is 50-50. That's balance.
Right.
Do you think 3.5 days out of the week you can put your family over working on your dissertation, papers, classes, proposals, whatever it is? Probably not. Do you think probably 3.5 days out of the week will your workouts be exactly the same and you're going to burn the same exact amount of calories? Because that's balance. And here's the thing, us, unfortunately, as African-American women, as Black women, as minority women, we have this thing that we have to do it all. Because by us doing it all, we fall into that narrative of, I'm a strong Black woman because my grandmother was and my mother was, and that's what they showed me. But what we don't know is that our mothers and our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, they suffered so much to put on this facade that they're strong Black woman. Leeshe Grimes is not no strong Black woman. Is there things that I can get through and I can get over? Absolutely. Leeshe Grimes will never, ever have it all together. And there's not one person walking this earth that will have it all together by society standards. So what do I mean by that? You have to look at what it is for you of what having it all together is. Does that make sense? And so I can't say what's good for coffee and what's good for cream is going to be good for me. And that's going to put me in the category of having it all together. What does having it all together look like? I know there's thousands of people that look out there and look at my life and be like, dang, you got it all together. Yeah, I can't find matching socks in my house half the time. I ain't got it all together. But here's the thing. I'm not going to put the facade that I have it all together either. And we have to get in the habit of letting people know, hey, I'm trying to take care of you and I'm trying to take care of this. How can you help me help you? And by doing that, you're actually helping yourself, because then people realize, like, oh, I didn't realize you have all of that going on. I can figure this out while you go ahead and get that. And when I can't figure it out, I'll get back to you. But what happened is we always tend to be that go-to person. You may be the strong friend.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I'm the strong friend. Well, who the heck is going to take care of me? Part of that may just be your characteristic. That's just who you are. But you're also responsible for that. You have to let people know, yes, I'm the strong friend, but I hurt. I cry. My heart has been broken. I've been depressed. I've been down and out. I've gotten a B when I wanted an A. I don't have it all together. And when you start displaying that to individuals, who your true, authentic self is, their expectations of you change as well. And what really happens is you're low life. But we struggle with that. We struggle with being transparent because unfortunately, as much as we say we don't care what people think, we care what people think. We want our kids to see that you can make it in life. You can do it. Nieces and nephews, whatever. There's so many people that are looking up to you. And it's like, well, if I look like I'm failing everybody that's looking up to me. No, by having that mentality, you're failing yourself. You're telling everybody else that you have to be perfect and there's only one way to get to the end goal. And that's not true.
Right. I also think it's so important for us to lean on one another. Right. Mm-hmm. I always say we cannot do this by ourselves. Some people are like, I don't need anybody. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this on my own. I've learned. I tried it. I done cut the whole world off and isolated myself into a black hole. And I was dying in that black hole. And I really needed somebody to tell me that that lifeline. And the people that I thought I was going to get it from, I didn't get it from. It came from strangers that became friends. It came from neighbors. It didn't come from. It came from unknown places. Let me say that. And and I say that because I want to go to Kia. How are you, sis? Hey,
I'm
sis.
doing great. Hey, sis.
How are
How are you,
you?
ladies?
Good. So we're talking about
Great.
showing support for one another, how important it is to have friendships and have bonds with other women for us
Hmm.
to even recognize when something is wrong in our life. Like I didn't even know Averina when she first came to the church, but she knew something was wrong with me. She's like, actually, something
Right.
wrong with her. I don't know what's going on with her. Something's going on with her though. And even like, when I'm with Cream, she can sense when my spirit changes. She's like, I don't know what it is, but something changed. You want to talk about it? And I'll be like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. She's like, no, you're not. I can tell something's wrong with you.
Right.
So can you tell us about Hey Sis?
Yeah, so Hey Sis is so it's basically everything that you all are talking about. It's like, hey sis, checking in on your sister, being your sister's keeper, because so many of us face the same battles and the same obstacles, and because we don't talk about it, because we don't want to be transparent, because we want to be, I have this cape on my back and this S on my chest, this SW, on my chest, that I don't need anybody. But that's what Hey Sis is about. Hey Sis is about, hey sis, how are you doing? Hey sis, how can I best support you? Hey sis, I'll be your accountability partner. Hey sis, oh, you have this going on over here? Well, let me tell you about this resource over here. So basically, Hey sis is about being my sister's keeper. And how can I best support you? It's about that sisterhood, the unity. Hey sis is about breaking the narrative, the stereotype that women can't get along, or that women are so catty. I mean, when you think back to high school, different girls probably fell out over some boy. And now today, you can't even really remember why you fell out, what boy was it, and what it was about. When sis, he was messing with you, her at this school, and her over here at this school too, when he was the common denominator. Oftentimes, we're so quick to jump back in relationships with men or forgive men, but we don't forgive our sisters. And so, Hey Sis is about changing that narrative. It's time to change the stereotype. I am my sister's keeper. And that's what the dot, dot, dot is about. It's Hey Sis, dot, dot, dot. Because that dot, dot, dot is a conversation piece.
Awesome.
And so I have, I have a website, and my website is www.purposed, PURPOSED, teas and more. And what that is about is that it's about, words have power, right? Words have the capability to build you up or tear you down. And oftentimes we see people walking around with items of clothing on their body that really doesn't truly express who you are. So if I'm going to wear something, if I'm going to wear a brand, or if I'm going to wear something with a label on it or words on it, it's going to express who I am. So that's what Purpose Tees and More is about. Is about creating unique t-shirts and more to express who you are, about you, the individual. Like I remember one lady, she wanted to make a shirt for one of her friends, and her friend was turning 50, and she said, I needed to say I am enough. And that was huge to me, because I was like, here it is. This sister's turning 50. And at this point in her life, she needs to know that she matters, that she is enough. So when gifting that shirt, it was like, yes, sis, let her know that she is enough. That she does matter, that she is fearfully and wonderfully made, that she is awesome, that she is dope. She's all of these things. So that's what Purpose Tees and More is about.
Thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
I want to go. I want to go back to the story with Tamar Braxton,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an unfortunate situation. It's very sad, but in the media, because I don't know her personally, I read some stuff that she sent out. She was saying little stuff about her wanting to die, or she's better off dead, and so on and so forth. She's been putting these little innuendos out that she was having these suicidal ideations. What are some things that are signs, I guess, you can look for when to determine whether a friend or a loved one is actually really having suicidal thoughts? If how can we recognize those?
And so, one is to know the individual. And why do I say that? I can say, well, if a person starts giving their things away, if a person starts isolating themselves, or if a person, starts maybe cutting or maybe saying, I don't want to live anymore, I can say, yeah, look for all of those things. But you may have that person who typically may seem like they're down and out of nowhere, they're happy. That's a change in behavior. Something is off. I'm not just looking at the person who looks down and out like they have a dark cloud. I'm looking at changed behavior. So you have to know the individual that you're dealing with. If you notice that their behavior is changing, I would check up on that person a lot more. If you know it's an individual who typically is the one that always reaches out and now they're not reaching out, that's a change in behavior. Does that mean that they're suicidal? No. But it means that there's something that is going on with them because it's a change in their behavior. We're in this social media world. So you can have the individual that used to post every day, all day long, whether it's positive or negative. And it's like, man, you know what? I haven't seen a post from such and such in a while. Let me reach out to them. Something could be off. And again, it doesn't mean that they're suicidal, but there's a change. Something is going on with them. So you want to look at a change in the behavior. And then I want us to get comfortable with asking people, do you want to live or do you want to die? Get comfortable with it.
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Don't beat around the bush and say, do you not want to be here anymore? Not wanting to be here could mean anything. I could just not be in this house that I'm in. I could just not want to be in this state, and it's making me feel I can say, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. That doesn't mean I'm suicidal. That could mean anything. So if you think that they're intending it in a suicidal way, say it. Do you want to live? Do you want to die? And when that happens, I want us to get in the habit of not telling people you have so much to live for. You got this accomplished. You have your kids. You don't think they thought about that?
Yeah.
I promise you they have. And I'm not saying they do have a lot of things to live for, but at that moment, they don't see it. So what could you do? Instead of telling them you have so much to live for, you have your kids, you have your husband, your wife, your significant other, your family, whatever it is, ask them, why do you want to die? Let them talk about dying. We have to get out of our own selves. And yes, is it uncomfortable to hear someone sit here and say, I want to die because X, Y, and Z. But what's really happening is you're listening to their reasons on why they may feel like they shouldn't be here anymore. And then those same reasons that they're giving you that they want to die are the same reasons that they truly have for living. You don't have to tell them their reasons for living. They're going to tell you, because if I can tell you why I want to die, 99% of the time, that's my reason for living. They don't need to hear from us that, oh, you have your kids. You have this, you're a CEO, you're almost finishing your doctorate, you're a mom. We know all of those things. We look at those things, we deal with those things, we accomplish those things. We see it when we look in the mirror. Individuals who may get into that suicidal state have thought about those things. Let's talk about why they want to die. And believe it or not, it is healing within itself when you allow the individual to say, I want to die because this relationship was bad. I really loved him or her. But what did that just tell us? That just told me they want to die because they feel like they're giving all of this love to this individual, but they know they aren't. But really, they want to live for more love. Does that make sense? Does it make sense?
Makes a lot of sense, because my son, who's now 22, he attempted suicide at 16, and he ended up spending a week at Presby here in Charlotte. And you talk about the signs, and like you said, with him, it was like all of a sudden type change. He kind of like pulled away, and all of what you said too about at that moment, like he said at that moment he just wanted the pain to go away. So we later found out last year, he's 22 now, so I found out when he was 21 that he was molested for years as a little boy when he would go back home to visit, and how that he still grappled with all that pain, and how he just wanted it to all go away because the coping mechanisms that he was using all these years were no longer working for him. Like his body gave signs. He broke out in a real bad case of eczema. It looked like he had the chicken pox at 20 years old. And that was his body's way of saying, hey, these coping mechanisms that you were utilizing for all these years are no longer working. And his anxiety levels were through the roof. So we talk about what's going on right now and dealing with anxiety and stress. So, you know, I'm constantly checking in with him right now, you know, to see, hey, how's it going? You know, hey, what are your days like? You know, trying to check his temperature, so to speak, to see where he's at, you know?
And it makes sense. And that's the other part. Your body will respond. It's going to respond. I'm super tired, or I may have a lot of energy and I can't sleep. Your body is telling you something. And then sometimes we say, well, this person always say they want to die or they don't want to live. They're attention seeking. Well, let me tell you something. Even if they're attention seeking, something is going on that's forcing them to feel like they need to seek this attention. So what do? We have to get comfortable with saying, or if we see someone that says, I don't want to live anymore, or this is it for me, guys. Thanks for everybody. I love everybody. Whatever the message may be, you have to get comfortable with, hey, where you at? Because what I do, and a lot of people, they hate me for it temporarily. They do. They hate me for it. When I see things like that, I'm asking you, hey, where you at? Are you home? And then I'm calling the county and say, hey, I need a mental health check to this individual's home because they just placed some suicidal ideations. And sometimes that made people think like, well, no, I was just down. I don't really want to kill myself. Or it could be, I was this close to really killing myself and you sent something.
And that's my next question. Like depression and suicide. Like, what is the difference? And is it one? Does depression can lead to suicide? I know it could, but like when a person is depressed, a person is suicidal, are the signs one and the same, or are they different?
So that's where it gets complicated. So I can tell you, me as a mental health therapist, so there's different levels of depression. One, so you have, I'll just do it easier for everybody to understand. You have the lower level, the middle level, and the higher level, right? So when the person is in the really low level of depression, I tend to not worry about that client. Why do I not really worry about that client committing suicide and things? Because they really can't muster the energy and things to take their life. I worry about the individuals who may be in a higher level of bracket, who have depression, but they're very functional. And why do I worry about them at that level of being more susceptible to suicide? Because they're more functional, which means they will go and search for more ways to take their life. That person in the middle is kind of like I'm going to keep my eye on you, but I'm not too concerned because you're going to go back and forth between the low energy, but not too much high energy. So that's kind of the easiest way I can explain it with the levels of depression. But just because you're depressed does not mean you're suicidal.
Got it. I kind of want to
depressed either.
Right. I get it. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit because also in the media, there was an issue with rapper Megan Thee Stallion and what's her little boyfriend name? Terren something. Anyway, she ended up getting shot in the foot, and rapper 50 Cent put up this meme of the Boys in the Hood. Remember when Ricky got shot? Like Ricky, and people thought the issue was funny, and I thought about that. I'm like, this is not funny. That's a whole nother issue of domestic violence.
Yes.
Right? We're in COVID-19. We're in quarantine, and there are a lot of people that are suffering domestic violence because they are home with their abuser. And those are some totally other different signs that will be aside from depression and suicide. I see Cream had put up the domestic violence hotline for individuals. Like if you feel like you're at threat or you don't feel safe in your environment or someone is physically, emotionally abusing you, that's a resource that you can call. Are there outside signs that friends and family can look for? Because I kind of feel like I've been in a lot of situations. I've been depressed. I've been suicidal, I've been in domestic violence, and they kind of like you isolate yourself. You got your friends. That's when something is wrong with me, and y'all want to know. I'm going to cut myself off from the world. When y'all stop hearing from me, and I'm not around, y'all know something is wrong with Berta.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all send her a text or a call. That's my first. My first thing is I always isolate. It's not the best thing, but that's just how I handle things.
Mm-hmm.
And Leeshe, before you go into that, is it true that there is some type of language that can be said on a call? Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. That if someone felt that their life was threatened by, with domestic violence, that they can say, like could say to someone, like even like calling for pizza or something. I think I saw that. If you could go into that as well. I'm gonna put y'all on mute, so I'll be right back.
So that is true. So you can a lot of times call 911 and say that you want to order a pizza. They're well aware of, okay, you're ordering a pizza, and they're going to continue to ask you certain questions. And by your response, they'll say, okay, well, what's the address you want the pizza delivering to? What's the phone number? And while they'll ask you, are you in immediate danger? You can answer them and you can say, yes, they are aware of the ordering of pizza. Even in nightlife, you can go to like a security guard or someone and say, hey, I need to request a certain song, by letting them know, hey, I'm requesting this song, but I'm really requesting for you to call the cops because my life is in danger right now. And they may play a certain song, which most night places need to get used to, when certain songs may be played or a cue that the DJ may have for the security guard that, hey, somebody's life is in danger, not just let me flash the light, because we all know when you flash and light, we looking like, what's going on? Is a fight breaking out over there? Is this, is that? There's different things that different establishments do have. The issue is it's not universal. That is the issue with that. It's not universal at all, unless you see things like the pizza thing getting out and a lot more people will call for the pizza. You don't necessarily know what security guard you can go to if you're out in a nightlife or things like that. And so when you're in situations like that, it's like, how do I tell someone else? And then sometimes someone may confide in you what is going on, and then the next day you see them back with their partner. There is a such thing as domestic violence traumatized. They're just traumatized by it. But it's unfortunately they've normalized it, and they go through this cycle of, well, it's not that bad. He's being nice to me right now, so I'm okay. It's hard to get an individual out of that cycle. And what I want us and everyone listening to be aware of, don't down talk that person. Don't tell them how easy it is to leave. Don't tell them it's plenty of fish in the sea. I'm sure they know all of that, but they can't think rationally. They just can't when they're in that situation. It's the same situation where you may have someone who was sexually abused and they miss their abuser. Mm. And it's like, wait. How can you miss a person that's like, again, they can't think rationally.
Is that what they call the Stockholm Syndrome? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's very similar to the Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, okay.
So it's the same thing with domestic violence individuals. So how do you support them? If you know you have someone that's in a domestic violence situation, call them, check on them, talk to them, give them resources. Even if you don't think they're going to use the resource, give it to them, because you don't know which day they're going to decide to use the resource. Here's the hard part. I nor you nor anyone around here can force them to leave the situation. Right. We know how dangerous it is. And you can make it worse. But like, you know what? Well, I'm going to call the cops on them and tell them this. You might have just ended that person's life. And you don't even know. So you have to be careful when you're dealing with these individuals, because they're not thinking rationally. So how do we support that? Again, we give them the domestic violence hotline. Maybe it's that one time they'll use it. If it's that time, and we have to be careful how we talk about everything. What people don't realize, especially in a social media world, if I just sit up here and see you talking about somebody being suicidal or somebody being in a domestic violence situation and they're weak and it's just easy to leave, I'm not coming to you when I'm in that situation. And then when something happens, everybody looks around and say, well, why didn't you come to me? You know I would support you. No, you wouldn't, because I just saw your Facebook post. I just saw your tweet. Now, granted, you probably would have supported that individual because you know them, but you have to be aware of your attitude around these situations. When we discuss things like Meg the Stallion, everything is not memeable. Everything is not a laughing matter. And it's a double-edged sword because unfortunately, our community, the best way we tend to get through things sometimes is laughter. But really what we're doing is we're masking it. But Black women are the most unprotected, the most envied, the most hated, and we struggle the most because we're strong Black women and they don't think we can feel pain. And so those memes is like, oh, they'll just laugh it off. Oh, well, she always rapping about being a savage and being a hot girl. I don't care what I rap about. I don't care if I go out and twerk my butt cheeks. I don't care about anything. I still deserve to be protected. And as sisters, we have to be mindful of what we're saying about individuals. Just because somebody likes to twerk a little bit don't mean they're less than. So we have to watch, everyone has to watch their attitudes around the things that you say. If you don't agree with it, baby, it's okay. You don't have to agree with everything, but don't put the next woman down. So we have to be mindful of what we put out in that atmosphere, because that's what stops that person who's in a domestic violence situation from coming to us. That's what stops them from speaking up.
So Leeshe,
that suicidal person from coming to you. Somebody had a question.
So Leeshe, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
So what and I've seen women, my sister's friend who was suffering from a domestic situation, and what I struggled with was, because you also mentioned, calling them every day and kind of checking in on them. Mm-hmm. You struggle for someone who is not in that situation and they see someone struggling daily with this, you want to come in and swoop in and intervene, but it's that longevity of continuing to see a situation that you can't do anything about. And so how can a person who sees these acts, how can they truly be in it for the long haul? Because the reality is that is a struggle in itself when you know someone is suffering, mm-hmm. and you want to will that person to get out of that situation. So how can me as a friend or me as a neighbor see something like that? How can I be instrumental in getting them help? Because you don't want, God forbid, this person to lose their life because they're in a situation where they're not strong enough to get out of.
Mm-hmm. And so that is the extremely hard part about dealing with domestic violence. And I have both professional experience and personal experience. And I have to come to terms with, I can't force anyone to do anything. So I have to focus on what I can control in the situation. I can control how often I'm reaching out to you. I can control what resources I may just send a quick text. I can control empowering you by giving you positive affirmations. I can control those things. By doing that, I'm letting that person know, okay, she knows that I'm here in this domestic violence situation and it's not safe and it's not healthy, but she's not judging me for being in it. She's not trying to force my hand to get out of it, because the reality is they are the only individuals that can get themselves out of it. It's so hard dealing with clients that I know sometimes that I may go do a home visit and I know this man or woman just choked this person out. I know that he or she just put a gun to their head, but when I get there, they have this display of love, and then the client is looking at me like, I want out, but I don't. And sometimes those individuals are stuck. They don't know if they want to live or if they want to die. Sometimes they feel like, I just want him to snap this last time so he kill me this time, because they don't want to live, because they don't want to deal with it anymore. And so they're okay with being in that situation with the hopes that he or she ends it. And then there's the other person like, I want to live, but I don't love myself enough to get out of the situation. And so I focus on things that help the individual build their self-love. Because once they start building that self-love, once they start knowing that I'm worthy, they'll get the courage and they'll say, oh, nah, oh, it's a wrap, son, I'm out. And granted, it'll still be hard, but then all those resources that you've been sending them, I'm sure they've been researching them. They've been looking it up. They're going to put it into action. But it's just like someone who's on drugs. I can't force you to stop. As much as I want you to not do these things or not be in that situation, I can't come get you and make you live with me. I can't do it, because then you're doing the same thing that their abuser is doing. You're controlling them. You're trying to force them to do the things that you want them to do, because you, in your mind, your perception is it's healthier for you. Their perception is their reality. So you don't want to seem like, even though we know your intentions is to help, to be helpful and to help them out, you don't want to also become an emotional abuser to them. And you may not realize it. So the best thing that you can do is focus on what you can control and listen to them. It doesn't hurt to just listen to them. Understand their viewpoint of why they think they want to stay in a relationship. Ask them things like, well, what are you getting out of the relationship?
Right. So I want to go into another topic. Well, it's similar, but okay, we're in this global pandemic. We're in global racism, and it seems as if crime in our community, there's always crime in our community. But I try to explain to, I think I was talking to you, Leeshe, about that, not making excuses for all the shootings and the violence that's in the community, but I'm sure, just like I'm feeling, and I'm not a violent person, that if somebody I would spaz out, that people who don't have the same thought process as I, or who doesn't have the same temperament as I, is feeling the same way. And so crime is increasing, violence is increasing, and I believe a part of it too is what's going on in the world. People are ready to pop off by any means necessary. Like, leave me alone. Like, really.
It's survival. Everyone's. I feel like there's an echo. Okay, everyone's in survival mode. So we're all on edge. We're all trying to survive. So sometimes that may put us in a mindset, I'm gonna get you before you get me. I'm trying to survive. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of, as I say, war on racism. All the trauma and things that we thought we had pushed to the side are all coming up. People are forced to deal with themselves and look in the mirror and know we're not responsible for the hurt and things that come to us, but we are responsible for the change. But if I can't get myself out of this hole, I'm going to be on edge. And I'm going to do what I think is best for me, and it is survival of the fittest. You have people who've been out of work, who couldn't even figure out how to fill out the unemployment paperwork. They got a family that's depending on them. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't, their lights and things, everything. Even dope boys on a corner can't get the drugs like they typically would normally get. Everybody is put, no matter what level you are in, they're forced to be in survival mode. So what happens? Some people will commit crimes against the individuals that are around their area. So if I'm white and I'm around a bunch of white people, guess who the crime's gonna be against? White people. If I'm black, I'm around a bunch of black people, crime's gonna be against blacks. And so the stereotype of black on black crime, you just get it out of our heads. Crime is crime. So what do I do to, one, help my mindset on that, and two, protect myself? This is why it is important to kind of be mindful of who you're going to be around. Pay attention to your surroundings more. Park in well-lit areas. If you're capable to and you're able to legally, go get you a gun if you can. Go get you a taser. Do what you can do within the legal ramifications to protect yourself. Like, you have that right. We all do.
Yeah.
You got to be able to protect yourself. I know for me, when I first moved here in Maryland, it wasn't even a pandemic and things, and somebody tried to rob me from my truck, and I had just been told that I couldn't carry my gun no longer. I had a lock in the sock. And if I didn't have that lock in the sock, I wouldn't be able to protect myself. So it's paying attention to your surroundings.
That's some. Never mind. Go ahead.
I mean,
Never mind. Go
That's
ahead.
great. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm so conscious of where I go now that I stay home. Like, I want to get out so bad. I want to, see my peoples, go on the block. Hey, yo, what's up? And I recognize that I cannot do that. And I don't want to, because when I walk around with that mask on, I'm mad. I'm like, I'm walking to get some milk for some cereal for these two little people, and I'm mad. I want to rip it off and put makeup on. You don't know how long it's been since I actually looked like a human being. Like, it was. I mean, so so I'm mad, not because of the social disturbance is just another piece. That's just another element to it. But like you said, Leeshe, the point of COVID, where you've got so much tragedy and trauma of people dying, or people that you don't even know who are dying. I just found out yesterday that my sister has COVID. I mean,
Really?
she lives in Louisiana. She's a healthcare professional. She's a nurse, and she's not sure where she got it or how she contracted it. And the problem is that she lives in a state where their contact tracing is abysmal compared to Maryland, where we have a governor who was right on top of, making sure that resources are where they should be in order to get the cases to find out where this is, stemming from. So when we talk about where you live, your zip code, that is so key to getting the proper and the adequate health care that you need. I mean, to be honest, that is my life right now, is really looking at this COVID disease, because where you live, it's a shame, but where you live dictates how you live. And it's sad. And whether you have a good quality of life or not. And that is the scary part. So when and she is the most consciously aware person, and despite all of her efforts, right, and knowing this disease firsthand, she still tested positive. And she has a husband, she has a baby who's 2 years old, and so now they're practicing social distancing in a home that is a rancher. So how do you practice social distancing in a rancher? That's a one level place. Like, one's
Right.
on one side of the house and the other person is on the other side of the house. So,
That's scary.
and the baby is running back and forth.
Right. So, and that's why it's, this whole thing is complicated. No one really knows how to contain it, how to control it, how to help it. And so that's where all the tension, that's that, I got this feeling, I don't know why I'm easy. That's why it's the unknown. Nobody knows. You can do everything you're supposed to do that they're telling us to do. I think I was telling Bertie the other day, I have a friend who tested positive for COVID. When it started, she shut down. She did not go anywhere. She worked from home. She ordered her groceries. She did not step foot in a grocery store. She wouldn't go outside and walk around the block because her anxiety was bad. When I say wiped down every single thing from her son in the home to her, and she just got sick over the last couple of weeks, and she tested positive for COVID. And she's like, I didn't even go outside. I didn't go anywhere. I've only been in my home, and I didn't go to the grocery store. And I was like, well, did you go to the grocery store? And she's like, no. I ordered my groceries. I let my groceries sit on the porch for a little bit before I brought them in. So she has no idea how she contracted it. And so that further tells us, like, nobody really knows. And that within itself is why it's so confusing. It's scary because it's like, you have this person who did everything. like really isolated and still ended up getting sick. You have this person who's going from city to city and in the clubs and in the bars and on the beaches, and they don't get sick and they don't contract nothing at all. And it's like, what, like, how do you explain that? And that's the issue. Science can't even explain it right now. And so
Yeah.
science
Yeah.
can't explain it. My emotions are all over. My hormones are all over. I don't know if I'm anxious, if I'm depressed, if I'm hungry, if I'm moody, if I don't know what I need. So I'm just gonna do whatever it is that may soothe my soul for that moment. And
That's me.
and so that's where we focus on
Yeah.
what we can control.
All the above is me. And that's why I thought it was fun. Look, sometimes my friends know me though. They know when I'm off the edge. I jump from bing, bing, bing like a ping pong machine. If y'all don't know, y'all gonna know real soon. But that's why I felt it was a need to have this conversation, because I was like, we need a mental health check. And that in my situation really hit home for me. I cried. I thought about it. I'm just like, wow, people are really going through something, and sometimes we just need to have a conversation and let it out. I called Leeshe this weekend. I'm coming over there. And she's like, all right, come on. And because I had to get out, I was ready to explode. And a person whose mental health was off kilter could easily took a machine gun and pointed out the window and just shot, because that's what got their anxiety on. That's how I felt, but I don't have a machine gun, of course. But I just had to get out. I felt like I was gonna combust. Really, for real.
And you can't feel bad for feeling that way. A lot of times people feel like, oh man, I shouldn't have those thoughts. Listen, as a mental health therapist, I had to leave and I went to Houston. Did I go out in Houston? No. I just worked from a different house. But it had gotten to the point where I was just like, I'm not going to be able to help my clients if I can't get me together. And that's why I said there's no one that is immune to anything that is going on. And I've been on this journey of dealing with my mental health for years, since I wouldn't say 2004. So, just constantly trying to work and deal. I had to call a therapist for myself. And my therapist was like, well, I don't know what you want me to help you with, because you got it all figured out. I said, just listen to me. You can understand my terms. Just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need to have that outside source that you can call and listen to. That's not saying that your best friend isn't great enough to listen to you. It's not saying any of that. But you deserve to have this space that you don't have to share that space with anyone. You deserve to be able to say, I want to go talk to this person who don't know me from Adam and Eve, and just tell them what it is I'm going through. And at the end of my session, we end up laughing. She was like, you didn't need me at all. I said, but I did. I just need you to listen to me. She said, yeah, but you figured it all out. I said, don't all clients always figure it out themselves? It's typically what it is, but it's just being able to recognize, yes, Leeshe, you're a therapist, but you have to maintain your mental health, because you're not going to be able to help anyone else's with theirs. And I think I had vented I think it probably was last week. It might have been this week, where I gotten a little upset because I'm at the point where I get over 60 requests a day. And while I'm appreciative of people reaching out for mental health and wanting to get involved, it's a process, let alone the 48 clients that I currently have to deal with, on top of finishing chapter 4 of my dissertation. And so I had to let people know I breathe the same oxygen that you breathe. Do I care? Absolutely. Do I want to help everyone? Absolutely. I do. But we have to be mindful of that as well when we're venting to our best friends and to our mothers and brothers and sisters. And you have to be mindful that they're breathing the same oxygen as you, and they may not just have the mental capacity to deal with your emotions on top of theirs. Is it easier for me to deal with it? Yes, because that's what I'm trained to do. I've been doing this for years. I know how to leave space for clients, and I know how to say, taking off, I'm closed, I'll be back, I'll see y'all next week, to create that space. So don't feel bad if it's like, oh man, I don't want to call my best friend and tell him this. I've been best friends with my best friend for 32 years now. And luckily, we got away to be able to take a trip to Trinidad, and I forced her to do it. Like, totally made her do it because she has bad anxiety. She hates me for it, but she loves me for it now. And I forced her to do this random trip. Like, just book it. Just hurry up. Just book this. This is where we're going. And we did it. Her anxiety was through the roof. And on that
Cream would never do that.
on the trip, there were so many things that I kept to myself and she kept to herself. And it's like, you never told me that. You never told me that. You never. But it's okay. You know, you tell people things when you're ready to tell them. And like I said, my best friend is like, you tell her everything. But you deserve to keep some things to yourself. And that's why I encourage everyone. I don't care how close you are with your best friends, how close you are with your families. Seek mental health services from a professional. They create that space for you. And you it's your space. You don't have to worry about judgments. You don't have to worry about the pressures. So when I just want to get away, I know, let me set up my appointment and then get away. Create that space and allow yourself to keep some things to yourself. But talk to a professional about it. And if your friend can't handle that, then they're not your friend anyway. Because what friend is mad that you went and got help? It's no different if your leg was broken and the first person I don't call my best friend Brooke, I'm like, no, I need to call 911 so I can get this broken leg and stop the bleeding. I'm not calling my best friend first. I'm probably going to call her afterwards, but she's not my first call. It shouldn't be for your mental health either. You should have a consistent routine that you reach out to a therapist. Now, I know that that's hard, especially now because we're in such a high demand of people who look like you. But if you need help figuring out that process, I have no problem with helping whoever wants to send a message to figure out the process for your area and how you can get connected with services. And I think that's what it comes down to, is having an outlet, whether it's domestic violence or whether it's crime or whether it's, suicidology. No matter what it is, it's figuring out a way, how can I talk about this comfortably?
Right. So, in closing, I'm going over the time a little bit. I just want let people know that, you are not alone. If you need a friend, as Leeshe stated, call a friend or family member. If they're not available, if you're having suicidal ideations, there is a national suicide hotline. If you are in a domestic violence situation, there's a domestic violence national hotline. They will help you create a plan to assist you with your situation. And even with all this crime going on within your community, again, protect yourself. Learn how to protect yourself the right way. But there's also a National Center for Victims of Crime that's posted. I also want to thank Kia Luster for being on the show and with her positive teas called Hey Sis, and it's encouraging us to make sure we're checking on one another. And her website is listed. Our psychotherapist, Mrs. Leeshe Grimes, and her website is listed as well. I encourage therapy for any and everybody. And I thank my dear friend Everina, our very own superwoman. We're not going to call you superwoman. Superwoman. Again, it's important to have these conversations. And if y'all want to have another one, inbox me or Tiffany or leave a message. Can we have another one? Can I come up and be on your panel? Let's talk about it. That's the only way, we're going to learn from one another and move forward. I'm connected to a lot of people. I have marriage there. I'm connected to a whole bunch of people, and we can help one another. So on that, and I also want to remind our Utica people, our Utica, New York, of is it next week, Tiffany?
It's the 25th.
What is it called? The Black Families Matter. Stop the violence. Event on Saturday, July 25th from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Kimball Park. Please remember your social distancing and your masks. Some will be provided. Free food from 12 to 3 for children. It's going to be a great event. You can also contact Patrick Johnson for donation to donate if you want to donate or to participate. And I believe Roosevelt Patterson as well. So thank you guys once again for participating in Queens of Conversation. I am Coffee. I'm Alberta and I'm Coffee.
And I am Tiffany. I'm Cream. The dog barking in the background.
And together we're Queens of Conversation. Thank you. See you next time.
Yeah.